The glow of the neon, a flickering sign. She dances through shadows, a figure divine. With every vibration that cuts through the night, unraveling secrets and pulsing light. She's a spark in the void, illuminating dreams. Shiver of magic in silvery streams. Her voice is the ether, a sound like a stars, binding the realms, mending our scars. Free galaxies swaying, she's breaking the mold. Unused to the galaxies, a tale to be told. She straddles the borders of where we belong. With whispers of chaos, she sings her own song. While others are lost in the echoes of time, she turns every heartbeat to rhythm and rhyme. In a world full of noise, she's a delicate hush, a pulse in the dark, a celestial hush. Her voice is the ether, a sound like the stars, binding the realms, mending our scars. Free galaxies swaying, she's breaking the mold. Unused to the galaxies, a tale to be told. Her essence will linger, a flicker of flame in the dance of the cause, what she calls out her name.
Yeah, brothers and sisters, remember, recover, return. In Mother Mary, Maria, Vril, Mother Orsic's name. You know, one of my rituals after, I would say this is like 2015. So 4 years, or maybe 2014, 3 or 4 years into it. I have a ritual the week before that like ended somewhere. At this time I had been very, very into asking Maria to help me remember who I know in this life before I came here. You know, the people I really knew. And I was, earlier that night I had said to her, she said, ask me anything you want to know. You can. It's no big deal. We're friends. I'm your mother, but I'm your friend. And I am not kidding you, for years I was like, well, the only thing I can think of is a memory of before I came here. And I had never even thought to ask for a memory in the Matrix of the previous rounds. You hear me? Do you hear me? I never thought to ask her. Maybe there's some shit from the previous rounds in the Matrix I need to remember. Right? I never thought that, and I never, and this is how grave a teacher is. She thought that. And she's here saying, I thought that because I picked it up from your true self, because the highest work is somehow, some way, if you really love someone, you want to see them happy and empowered. And you know there's only one way, their own true self. And deals are made with people's true self over their avatar. Believe it, Joseph. I was like, damn, now that's a wild explanation of reality. But it makes more sense than God hates us, killed his own son. God hates us because we won't authentically worship him because we just don't think he's beautiful. That's his whole thing is, you love other gods. You don't work. Yeah, because you're ugly and disgusting. Not physically. We're not talking that. We're talking your essence. You suck. You're a predator. You're unfair. You're full of force, fraud, and lies. And this I'll never forget, Maria had the most beautiful blue and purple dress. Kind of longer dress. Almost like, pretty fancy. But like she said, I want to look beautiful for you, my child. It's fun. And she's like, believe me, on Venus, we have plenty of time. She said, I keep the schedule because I like to, not because I have to. I was like, wow, that's cool. And so she said, oh, yeah, you want a memory of before you came here? And I said, yeah, back home. And she said, well, what about this? And she held up her hand like what you would see like an Indian going like how, or, not with her arm out, but just with her arm like a hi. And she went like this. And when I went to say like, hey, hi back. And when I did, it was like I instantly started dreaming, but this was actually a memory. I want to explain it because I now know what it is, and it was later explained to me. It was a memory of a previous round in my life, and this is where everything becomes very distorted for some people who have psychic abilities. They can no longer distinguish between their mind playing out the possibilities of things and the matrix, which is also not real. Both things are not real. In a sense, your mind, not even in a sense, literally, your mind is playing out your life, and it's not literal. You know what I mean? Your mind is like, I have to do this and that. I have to get married. I have to have children and have a family. You might not consciously have any clue why, but your mind is actually doing it and making it happen and making deals, sometimes with AI people on another level, sometimes with people actually plugged into the matrix. And like Maria said, that's why it truly is harder for a camel to get through an eye of a needle than someone to beat the frequency match technology that really does help people. She said, you want to know how I know you, Joseph? A very sophisticated computer told me that you existed on another plane where still there are millions, maybe even hundreds of millions of people who have never been physical beings but are as people as much as we are. I've met some of them. Maria knows these people, loves to interact with these people, has taken me numerous times. Took me to an androgynous, almost like a kid, almost like a 10, 12-year-old kid. It was this woman's true self. And she was so pure and innocent and like non-gender androgynous that I said to Maria, this might be ridiculous, but is that a man or a woman? And she was like more like a boy or a girl. You know what I mean? The person was more like a child, and this was their eternal self, eternal true self. And I was like, and Maria said to me, this is how she's causing us to see her. This is how she wants us to see her. She don't want us to think she's sexy, or I mean, she was, almost looked like a prison uniform she was wearing. Almost like a jumpsuit, very non-gendered. And it was an incredible experience of me sort of looking in a mirror and me saying, like, this totally makes sense. Who I have been seeing as a created man by the gods, I was a child, just like this person. It makes sense that I came from this realm, this world, to the physical Venusian world. And that's exactly why I was, like a kid. And like Maria said, Joe, it takes a long... She's like, you just wouldn't imagine how, like, rough and I am to you, because I lived on the first time Earth. You look at me as like a warrioress fighter, so rough. And she's like, but I was a child just like you, and made myself grow up and become rough like this as a Austrian teenager. She said, believe me, I had boys grab me in high school, and I had to make it known, like, I consider that rape, and you've touched me like that, I will hurt you more than you'll expect. You better expect it, because and even if it's not now, it will be. And she said, I also grew up with boys who respected me, who would protect me. Always. All through high school. She said, but at your high school you go longer. She said, I basically left high school before I was 15. I was just about, that year I would have been 15. And she said I was good at telling the teacher exactly what, and it was, like she said, it was mainly men, perverted men. She said, believe me, it was no problem manipulating the teachers with magic. She's like, I did well in school. I won it out a year early, and I got it. But anyway, this memory that Mother granted me with a how like this, and this was a previous round, very important, and this did not, I told her later, this didn't happen in this round, and this is her way of showing you, in a sense, gradually break the eternal return circle that you're in right now, which isn't totally eternal, but it seems like it in this matrix. You tell me I've repeated this life 100 times, that's almost like eternity to me. But it's like things happen each round. It doesn't seem like things are changing, but slowly your true self is awakening, the avatar of the avatar in the holographic matrix. And the week before, at the very end, she was like, remember you asked for a memory before you came here? And when she was saying that, all of a sudden I seen this dude without a shirt on, wearing a headband, like a leather, like kind of Native American Indian looking headband. And he was all excited. He was dancing around. We were like outside somewhere, like really having fun, dancing. You know, he had the headband. He was laughing. It was just like a 5-second memory. And I told her. She said, oh, that's your best friend. I was like, what? One of your best friends or something. And she's like, that's White Hawk. That's why I was telling you, if you need a fake name for, call yourself White Hawk. Because that's your best friend, really. You guys and me, we all call him White Hawk. And she said, you know why? He's very good at switching bodies with hawks in the Matrix. I go, what? And that's really all. And then the next week, again, I asked her, and this is the week I'm talking about, where she said, look, like this, she said with her hand. I went, because I was like, a memory of before. And she was like, I don't know about before you came here, but what about this? And I was with Mindy and my wife, Joey, and we were outside. It seemed like almost like a park, or maybe like a parking lot of a concert, maybe, because everyone was pretty excited. And us four were sitting down, maybe on the back of a car or something. And I said to Maria, White Hawk, that's White Hawk from last week. And she's like, right. She's like, yeah, Joe, I'm making sense. Yeah, it's meant to be. That I, and we're laughing. And straight up, he's telling us he's wearing the same sort of headband, or the same way as hair, kind of long, pretty long hair, like past his shoulder. He's like using the headband, keep his hair out of his eyes, but it's also like smashing down the sides, like kind of like an Indian. And he's telling us, dude, we're like 20. We're in our 20s. We're so fucking young. And he's like, you guys aren't never going to believe. He had like a deeper voice. Like, you're never going to believe this, but remember how I said I was doing the mushroom ritual? And I said to Maria, I sound like him. And she's like, well, yeah, he's your best friend. You love each other. And he's going, dude, I met the river goddess. And she's teaching me that the only way we can really, that we're in a simulation, that we're in a fake reality that's really existing in one of the God's minds. And it's all about if you can recognize where you're at. And we're going, what? That's crazy. And I was like almost a totally different person. I'm going, dude, you're saying like the mushrooms helped you see this? And he's like, oh man, dude, I was out of my body. It ended with him saying, like, the goddess told me this is the only way we can really change ourselves. And us, and all of a sudden I was back with Maria, and I was like, damn, I knew right then when he said that in reality. I go, when did that happen? She said the previous rounds. I go, but it didn't happen this round. She was like, did anyone say it had to? And I go, so? She goes, this is the last round, Joe. It had to be different. That's what's different. It's the last round. It is the last round. You couldn't get out of here. Your true self has to. And it ended with Whitehawk saying, like, well, as I said, only the gods can help us in this. And me and Mindy and Joey going, damn, dude, it's like he really knows the gods. Like, the gods. Like, no one talks about the gods. And I was back with Maria, like, so that happened in the I go, how many times was Whitehawk here with us? She was like, all the rounds until that one. Then the next round after that, he wasn't there at all. I go, oh, why? And she said, because it's only happening in your mind, Joe. It's not happening out here. You think the world's happening out here. It's only happening in your mind. It's only happening in the minds of those plugged in. And your friend, my friend, our brother, Whitehawk, that was his last round. He was discovering what you're discovering now and telling you. I go, oh my God, that's exactly what was happening. Is he was saying to me exactly what I finally did do. And she said, because he said it to you, it manifests in your next round. And she was like, I told you, I'm going to teach you patience.
Underneath the moon sky, feel the vibe. Island breezes whisper low like a live tribe. Nana dance through the night, heart so free. With every swaying step, she's a melody. Roots in the sun, the only guide. When Nana guide us home. Through waters wild, to love we roam. River of amor, flowing through our veins. True self reflected in love's strong chains. Together we rise, wash away the stains. Our souls intertwined, dancing in refrains. In the sunshine we never lost, just found echoes of laughter, we move through that sound. Colors of the sunset paint the ocean deep with not a spirit viv, but wait, never sleep. Unity we rise, no need to hide. The river speaks, it knows our name. Through every wave, one thought to reclaim. River of amor, flowing through our veins. True self reflected in love's strong chains. Together we rise, wash away the stains. Our souls intertwined, dancing in refrains. River of amor, flowing through our veins. True self-reflected in love's strong chains. Together we rise, wash away the stains. Our souls intertwined, dancing in refrains. Sunflower seeds up and you shine forever bright. In the rhythm of love, we ignite.
Know it's real, how you feel. There's a name and there's nothing they won't take. There's nothing they won't break in you, inside of you. There's nothing they won't take. There's nothing they won't fake in you. Whoa, whoa. We have to know it's real, how you feel. There's a name and a place. There's a time and a place. I know it's real, how you feel. There's a name and a place. Everything keeps leaking out aggression. And should I mention, don't know how to react. Can't wake up from my expression. It's all a dream. So you got to know it's real, how you feel. There's a time and a place. So know it's real, how you feel. There's a name and a face. Whoa, know it's real. And we're gonna try to pick up tonight. It is September 6th, 2025. Whatever you want to call it, the gross empire of America falling to pieces before us. You know, with the Epstein-soaked locker room talk. Fake hair, fake face, fake everything, fake personality, fake everything. People are like, he's powerful. To people who respect what? Reality TV. And I can hear some marketer going, that's them in the late 90s, early 2000s. That was the market. And it's still resonating. That's why almost, million-year-old, he's so old his face is falling off of his body. And he's leading us. I mean, the gross personality of, like, I'm right no matter what, is so... It's a magic trick. It doesn't matter how you interpret it. It doesn't matter what your perspective is. When all the data is gathered about reality that you're presented with, anyone that looks at all the data is like, there ain't no way in fucking hell they're risking anything on democracy. Why do you know that? Because they're investing everything into deceiving you into thinking you're in a democracy, because they punch you with the puppet Biden and punch you with the puppet Trump, and you're like, I hate Trump, I'm a Democrat, I hate Biden, and it's on. And like Maria said, we've come to destroy that in our own spiritual, real way, and we speak against it right now. Fall, America, fall, America, fall down to ashes. May the character that is created in the minds and the imaginations of its evil followers, may the God, Yahweh, manifest his hatred for this land that he created. He built this Frankenstein. You know exactly You know exactly who Yahweh is in the modern day. He's Frankenstein. Or, Frankenstein. Stein. Whatever. And remember, recover, return, my brothers and sisters. Remember who you are. Recover your real power. The miraculous power. You're like, do I have it? Yeah, you do. Start praying to your true self like I did. And I'll lead us in that prayer. We'll get back to, my impromptu intro. And recover that power. Yeah, you do have latent power, dormant power that's not being directed. And may we truly use that power. How should we? It brings up a great question. I've had people say to me, and I tell people that are my real friends around me, like, I talk about this, and Maria has me talk out of necessity. The real power, the power of the orgasm, and its release of energy. Release of what energy? Okay, I ask, people think I am dumb. I'm dumb in maybe like, I don't know. In recognizing practical, like I can't work on machines or anything like that. Like I have a hard time with practical things. Like it's almost like I'm dyslexic, or I am sort of dyslexic when it comes to actually sort of working with your hands, you might say. Like a mechanic. I keep thinking of a mechanic and how I can't it's all backwards to me. And like Maria, if she was here, she would say, that's, why, that's how you developed your originality as an artist. By not being able to be taught because you're like dyslexic, you're seeing things opposite. You had to teach yourself. Like, even the guitar, it's funny. I've had people say to me that, I specifically remember Duck Duck Goose, my band, our band, whatever, till I was like 20. A guy, I think it was like the second, third time I ever, like sometimes we would play just a 3-piece. And a guy came up to me after a show, he said, I'm a guitar player and I teach lessons and shit. He said, you have an extremely original way of playing guitar. He's like, I'm sure you taught yourself, right? I said, yeah. He said, there's absolutely no substituting that. He said, because you're, not doing anything that you would be taught in lessons, like you figured out your own way. And I was like, thank you, man. I appreciate you like recognizing that. He was like, yeah. He said, I noticed how you weren't, playing like regular bar chords. I go, yeah, hardly ever. He said, yeah, that's very different in punk rock. And we are already not so punk rock. Maybe we never were, but we were. It was funny, punk rock. I don't mean to go off on a tinge, but was sort of political, and I didn't want to be fake, and I didn't know anything about politics. Like Ronald Reagan was president, and it just seemed like everything was fake. It was just completely fake. An actor is the president. Sound familiar? a bad actor, a suck-ass actor like this one. Just, I mean, isn't part of my work here to inadvertently, accidentally tell the story of America? And I could hear, I've been around Maria so much, I can literally remember her saying to me, yeah, and you know why America was great? At one time. I said, no. And she said, because of Scott Joplin, ragtime music, dancing. She said, this is the double-edged sword. This is the story of America. That we were almost something great. We were almost, like she said, people aren't going to like this word. People aren't going to like this word, but it's just, if it was scientifically true, it'd be one thing. Experientially, one thing. But the truth was, in 1900, when, like she said, like Maria told me many times, people thought the world was going to end in 1900. Lots of people. She said, like the World's Fair and shit. She said that was like a celebration. Like the world didn't end. We got one more year. She said, this is a fucking crazy Crowleyanity Christian culture that was handed to her generation. And she said, by the time I was a teenager, everything had changed. Why? Because the intellectual culture had been taken by a wave of evidence and truth that the Bible is crazy, a myth. Even though it has every characteristic of a myth. And it is just almost out of crazy to think it's, what a nightmare. What a nightmare that God, right? Somebody was talking about this the other day. After Yahweh killed all the Egyptians' firstborn, it's like some kind of weird payment to himself to set his own people free, which he could have said, he just could have said, go free and open the sea, and he didn't have to kill everyone's kids, you understand? Myth, this cries myth. And he said no one really goes to this passage where, like, just a little while later, Yahweh it says in one day killed 50,000 Israelites by opening the earth and swallowing them, burying them alive. You just can't fucking make this up. It's that crazy. And what we're going to get at again tonight is who's speaking to you. How do you test an unseen voice that's saying he or she is you? This is the height of black magic. And this is what leads to, let me say it this way, the mental slavery of Thelema. You wanna study something? Study the Hollywood connections to the Kabbalah and Thelema. And you'll find L. Ron Hubbard. right at the center of this with who, and look, they tried very hard. These people are very secretive, very smart, secretive and shit. Hubbard, bragged to people how he was, sucked the dong of Aleister Crowley, and then at the same time would deny, I never even met him. When, they were all like, if you don't understand the Masonic Lodge and the Masons and how Aleister Crowley was the head of the Masons here in America, because he was the head of the Scottish Rite in England that originated this shit. Why was he put, like Maria said one day, has anyone ever informed you? Has anyone ever asked? Who have seen that Bohemian Grove video of Alex Jones? Throw out everything but just the actual video of the ceremony and what's being said in that ceremony. How they're worshiping like a natural power, the power of summer to set you free, made human, animated. You know what I mean? Emanate in a natural energy, the power of summer to make you feel better, make you feel freer, right? And they were just simply saying, release your cares, your worries to this natural power, right? And they're saying like, this natural power was symbolized by the goddess of Babylon and Isis of Egypt. Like Maria said, everything they're saying true. Just funny, the audience is releasing their cares about abusing children and ripping off working class people, because it's all bankers, politicians, and rich people in the Bohemian Club. Like Maria said, not many people got much out of that video, but you did. And I said, because you did. Truly. I mean, it is truly, let me tell you people, truly. If I was you, and I was, I would, even if I just did a very light dose of edible THC or some kind of mushrooms or something, my main prayer would be, true self, teach me how to get out of here. True self, teach me the truth about myself, and just stick with that prayer. Well, I'm going to get to it. About how the totality of data to the point where you're at has to either inspire you to gather more, or it defeats you in fear to run away and hide back into some safe, conformed, non-warrioress place. Like the war, the war is more symbolic, right? Because we're in illusion. So what do you, it's so crazy. It's like Maria said, the most dangerous thing is other people's energy. It's good or bad, or it's just dangerous for certain people. And it's weird. I understand life a lot better since I made the very foundation of my understanding that because of my experience, everything is energy, right? Like part of the reason I believed that was like right when I was starting, I probably did about 20 rituals, and just by chance, I had the opportunity to smoke natural DMT and I told the story about the snakes and the next day running over a giant snake at the first stop. But what was more practical, and this was coinciding with Maria teaching me these things. This was her, like, I should be clear. It was her way of confirming supernaturally what she was teaching me about everything was energy. And it was this, right? Or it was like those snakes came out of the background behind the girl who gave me the DMT, and it was like a million of them, all different colors, digital. And when they hit me, I almost thought, I physically felt it. And people, tell you before you, the people I was with, tell you before you smoke DMT, like close your eyes, and relax. After you feel it hit, you just try to close your eyes and relax. Well, this is the first time I ever did it. I didn't know. And it just came so fast that my eyes were open. And these background of like a million snakes that weren't real. They were like digital, And they certainly weren't scary. It happened way too fast to be scared of any of it. In like a split second. And I looked down and I still had the pipe in my hand. And I had a thought like, I don't want to break this pipe. And I thought, I'll just keep it in my hand and put my hand on the couch, just rest it right there. And when I closed my eyes, the moment that it was like my eyes were like a light switch, like click, and I was in the other part of these people's basement, in their laundry room, in real time, in actual real time. Because the room is like right next to the sort of music practice space room, and the lights were off, and I put that together. I was like, I didn't know where I was at first. For like 3 or 4 seconds, maybe 10 seconds, I didn't know where I was, but I wasn't scared, and I could hear them talking. I never couldn't not hear them talking. So I didn't get that scared because I could hear my wife and the rest of the people in that room talking. And I suddenly realized like I was up in the air too, like by the ceiling. And I was in the laundry room, but the lights were off completely. And I said to myself, I did not, like, people have to understand, the whole reason this is relevant is because I didn't know she was Maria. I was telling everyone, why don't people in America, I was telling everyone for over a year, what the fuck is wrong with you? Do you see how Hindu people treat the Ganges River? Why don't we do anything for this river? Why don't we go out on it? Why don't we celebrate on the river, on the shore? Why don't we cremate our dead, our loved ones, and pour their ashes into the beautiful river that runs through our country and cleanses it and takes the energy away. Why don't, and I'm like, have you ever heard of anyone, talk about a river god or river goddess in America today? I wanted to know. I know there was somewhere, because the Missouri River Goddess was telling me. Not only that, people would not even believe me, but Maria told me to go to this concert that was near, I can't even remember the name of the river, like a huge river that, I guess maybe it was the Ohio River. Maybe it was in Indiana. I don't know. I actually can't remember. But once I got there, it was huge. It was a huge, huge river, like I couldn't believe, like the Missouri River. She knows shit. She told me, if you will go there and take some mushrooms and dance at the concert just like we would in your room, go back to your hotel room. She said, I guarantee you, she said, I'm going to connect you to the goddess of that river. And she did exactly as she said. I could hear her voice after the show. She's like, Joe, can you hear me? I'm like, I can hear you, Mother. She's like, listen, I am introducing you to the goddess. This is hilarious. I just thought about it, like, oh my God, her voice, because I never really fully seen this Indiana River Goddess, or whatever the name of the river was. I can't even remember. But my God, I just thought, oh my God, was that Donna? It sounded like her voice. My memory sometimes is so good. You can have audible memories, and just like memories of smell, even. And I could hear her voice, and I was like, oh my God, that's Donna. And for people who are tuning in, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Well, when I was 7 years old, there was a UFO in my backyard. And then when I was 21 years old, the same UFO met us in the parking lot of the Lollapalooza Jane's Addiction Lollapalooza concert in Kansas City, Missouri. And then 20 years after that, I did 5 grams of mushrooms, and a lady started talking to me, appearing to me, and said she was my real mother, that she was the woman on the UFO when I was a kid who communicated with me when I was 7 years old in my backyard, and that she was the Missouri River Goddess, and she was my real mother, and she's a river goddess because she's all about magic flow of energy and dancing. Mainly in dancing and using dance for magic. This is what the Missouri River Goddess was telling. I was telling, Mindy knows this, I was telling people, I know it sounds crazy, but I've been meeting the Missouri River Goddess. This blonde woman. I knew her name, but I couldn't tell it. A different name, not Maria. A magic name. She made me go through this whole process to reveal to me her magic name, and the purpose to use it in nature by the Missouri River, to do magic by the Missouri River, to say this name, say the vibration of this name, and believe me, or don't, or who cares? No one cares about me or you. But believe me, it was a powerful thing, the name. And I was going to say, believe me, I swear on my own heart, I never had the thought that she was someone else more than that name from Venus in the future, and she could do what she was doing because I was from Venus in the future and I was in a simulation. She told me that from the second ritual. The second ritual I did, I was like, I go, oh my God, because I couldn't see her. She was hiding behind her hair, and I tried to look at her face. We're standing side by side, and she would kind of move, I would, and in my mind, I thought, you don't want me to see you, you know? And she's like, there's a purpose. There's a purpose. And then, you know, like an hour went by or so, and she like looked at me with the hair still kind of hiding there. And I went, I'd seen enough of her face. I went, oh my God, you're the lady that was leading me in that first ritual, the memory of the magic marriages. And she's like, of course I am. I'm your mother. I've been saying that the whole time. And I laughed. I went, wow, yeah, that does make sense. If if it was a pre-arranged marriage by someone else, like, yeah, I think your mother would be there. And she is like, well, what I'm trying to get to is telling Mindy, like, dude, the Missouri River Goddess is one hell of a dancer. One fucking awesome. I was telling my wife, dude, you don't even get it, dude. I'm telling you what this lady says, but you should see her dance. I'm like, beautiful ballet, beautiful dancing like I've never fucking seen. I was telling people this, and I didn't have any book. I didn't know who Maria Orsic was. I never had heard that name before. You know, the Missouri River Goddess, in her own, let me just tell the story. Way before I knew she was Maria, 7 or 8 months before she ever said, I'm from Venus, but I lived on the first time Earth. See, I didn't know that was possible. You know what I mean? I had to have her explain everything. That's why it's taken so long. It took so long for me to do the podcast. She asked me to do the podcast way before I knew she was Maria Orsic. So as far as I knew, I was going to do a podcast saying, this is what the Missouri River Goddess says. And, it didn't matter to me. Really, true. Like, why would it matter? It's the actual information. Like, for me, I love Maria and her personality, but it's the actual information that is why I do a podcast. Not just to tell a story, but the teachings. This is what she teaches in her school. And she teaches, like she said, the same way you're teaching, through your own story. Like she said, it's pretty easy, Joe, to teach a semester in my, course. It's my story, But it's a wonderful, clear perception of the story laid out in a systematic way to give you a code to live by. And people are like, I don't need, well, I mean, that's the whole thing, is we're trying to bring out the true self, the true code, the true personality, so that, we can defeat fear and guilt and go home. Like Maria said, it doesn't matter how or where you're at, you automatically, most of us connect into some sort of collective, and like, if some people are unjustly suffering, we all are. That are like this, who feels it knows it, right? Yeah. I can't even tell you the fucking agony I went through of being a Christian. How absolutely vibrational, horrible it was. Compared, like, I'm free now. I was suicidal. It was a torture, a torment, and it is an inspiration to never repeat this life again. This is the worst. It's like Maria said. It's brilliant, the whole Christ consciousness bullshit, but it's tragically nightmare. It's like a nightmare of having the tables flipped on you after you die. Of literally saying you're basing your consciousness on something evil, something opposite of what I am as a goddess. Like, dude, she straight up was like, the second ritual, towards the end of the second ritual, she was like, you understand what's going on? I said, no. She said, you're Luke Skywalker. You're fighting Darth Vader. You're kind of really, though, fighting yourself. She was like, you seen how he took off the Darth Vader mask, and it was him. She said, so I don't want you to lose context. This is a myth, but it's a myth that's come to life like a Frankenstein. And she said, this is exactly what she said to me. The first part of this initiation, she said, this, Joe, can be thought of no other way. And see, this is the difference between me and all the other initiated people. I heard this loud and clearly. She said, Joe, you could not take this ritual personal, because this is an initiation. I said, well, what is? Your whole life. It's different stages you are being tested, not only by the gods of this world, but the main God over you, your true self. And if you don't pass these tests, she said, this is why I'm telling you, you have to take me literal. That I am your literal teacher. And you're like in a video game. So it doesn't matter how you feel. If you don't press the buttons, you're going to die. I was like, dude, I get it. This isn't some new agey, fluffy, story of Om, peace, Hare Krishna. She said, exactly. You know what it is, Joe? It's war on Yahweh. She's like, look at me. She's like, you cannot get out of here until you absolutely defeat this Frankenstein monster that the Bible has built called Yahweh. And she's like, Joe, it's no more real than Scooby-Doo. And the guy pulls the mask off in the Scooby-Doo. It's just a man. It is a man. She said, yeah, it's so gross. And dude, I didn't know. Later she would tell me everything I meant about Yahweh. I meant Crowley. Crowley is your God. Listen, Christians, I'm going to say it over and over and over. A fat, gross, pedophile, heroin addict is your God. That's why he would forgive fat, gross, pedophile, heroin addicts. You know why he would forgive any sinner? Because that's what he is. That's what he does. And that's your God. So love him. Suck his fucking doo-doo. I literally been around Maria so much I can feel her going, or I could imagine her going, settle down, relax, it's just a game. And it is. Has anyone ever seen the Bill Hicks, the comedian? He has a really cool thing at the end of his comedy specials, which I didn't see. I should say, I seen after I had. Well, I'll tell the special and then I'll tell the dream. And maybe we'll all, gain something, learn some insight from me telling this very obviously supernatural dream that makes me think that maybe Lou did it, because Maria has told me, yeah, Lou did a lot of things. And she always is very clear to me to tell me, I constructed that dream, I created that dream, and gave it to you. Which I used to just marvel at that, like, how do you do that? And later I learned, become one with someone. It's so crazy to be on this earth. And I mean, literally, I really feel for people who genuinely are lonely. Like, and people are like, yeah, you're crazy. All shamans live this way, but I happen to live this way. I know that Maria's real because I'm trying to get to the story how the Missouri River Goddess was over and over and over proving to me I know the future. She's like, Jill, check this out. You're going to have a granddaughter, and here she is. Years from now, Joe. Here's the birth. Here she is. Here's what she looks like. And it was absolutely true. And like I said, she said, don't tell your daughter until the day I tell you. And I told my daughter, and she said, oh my God, I can't believe you're saying that. Last night, I just got up from a dream where I was giving birth to a baby. Right? And see, that's why I believe. Because a million things, not just that one, but I'm trying to tell you everything. From the moment I met her, in one way or another, she was hinting, and sometimes just straight up saying to my face, sometimes showing me memories of how I knew what was going to happen. Because why? It's a repeating life. It's only happening in your mind. People are like, I can't handle that. Dude, you have to. It's just the truth. Well, how can you be sure? For one thing, you have to really concentrate deeply on the nature of reality. Like, what is reality? What am I seeing? What are my five senses taking in? And the first thing you realize is you can be deceived. The first thing you realize is your hearing, your vision, your mind, your taste can be deceived. They can be tricked, outright tricked. And what would be the basis of that trick? That Yahweh, a fat, ugly heroin addict with a needle hanging out of his arm, molesting a child, murdering people. Aleister Crowley murdered people, you know that. He murdered people. But she told me, right there, she was like, the first part of this initiation, and if you don't pass it, we can't go on. The first part is war on Yahweh. And she said it to me. It was so funny how she looked at this time. She kind of had the real sort of military uniform on, but she also had like a white, different kind of shirt underneath that was longer than the jacket. It was like she was just wearing the jacket over this other shit. And I now recognize, like, she was wearing that because, you know what, check this out. I did an interview I was talking about with Maria, where she told me was her daughter, and Maria was sitting right next to me. Matter of fact, I had a whole thing to do a whole thing for Maria before this interview. I had to get up early, and she had this, she's the office manager. But she was like, you have to go down to the river, you have to do this, and I'll be with you. And I mean, I've never felt such great energy. It was like the best energy, like one of the best conversations. The best, like, I mean, I obviously not for her, quote Maria's daughter. But, which, she is, but this is just the story, which is so ironic, so wild. It's so wild. I don't know if I can explain and make it make sense to a stranger, but it was certainly one of the most powerful things that ever happened to me. It was a very, like, soon as the discuss. I don't even want to say it was an interview. It was more like just a discussion, because she didn't really interject much or push back much at anything, which I think she did out of respect, and I loved how she conducted herself. But she brought like her friend on, which kind of the like same old message of like, mushrooms don't work for me, like it's like me going on somebody that obviously doesn't agree and going, well, I don't agree. Like what? Like what? Okay. And it really fucked me up. And like Maria was like, it was supposed to. Because it made me like lose my connection to Maria for a second. And I was like apologizing to Maria, like, dude, I am so sorry. Like my mouth literally could not say the right things. Because I wanted to tell this lady, like, we're not against like fun. And I was trying to say, like, the world, the hippies have like sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Well, in our own natural way, we believe the same thing. We don't believe everything should be so solemn, and it's not. In Maria's ritual, it's always very high energy, upbeat. This is war. It's a war dance. It's a high energy dance. We never listen to slow emotional music ever, 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 never once. We go from, high energy, usually trance, some trance, but a lot of times just, songs I know she loves. We play those. I mean, we have a whole library of music together now, that we can agree on. Like, I would hate to, I really understand vibrational music. I would hate to play even 5 minutes of something that someone hated on accident. It make them cringe. I would feel terrible. So this is something that has to totally be worked out. The atmosphere of the ritual. I mean, there's sometimes where we just turn the music off and we're just together as one. After the interview, I felt great because Maria was so happy. And for real, I don't even remember a lot of it. Honestly, me and Maria were switching bodies and she was talking to her a lot. I would say at least, a third of the time that I was speaking. It was like a meditative sort of rhythm so that Maria could literally say things. And as I think I've mentioned, this never surfaced. I never seen it. It was never talked about. It was like it just didn't happen. And like a couple weeks later, I was just completely, I was just completely baffled because I thought it was like the best thing that the best like energy of describing. I was having like some, like the woman conducting the interview was giving me like great energy to remember. She was helping me remember, and it was fascinating, you know, because one thing that's for me an obvious proof of, that you knew someone before you came here. But to make a long story short, so it was like, I swear, the next ritual. This is when I didn't see Maria all the time. I would only see her at the ritual. She said, "What happened? How do the people like the interview?" And I said, "Well, it's not posted anywhere. Like I don't know. I haven't seen it." She's like, "Huh." Then the next week, I told her the same thing, and she was just like, "Huh." She had no emotion. I see no emotion in her. She just looked like, she will. That's kind of the vibration I got from her is, don't worry, Joe, she will. And then I really think this was the third week after, and like the 2 weeks after that was like the first thing with me and her after we stopped dancing. And for real, she was in my room, we were dancing, everything was happy. I laid down in the bed and we went into like another world. Not my room, not the astral plane of the earth, but some inner world within us, I guess. But it's more real than this world. Why? Very much like dreaming. Like I forgot what happened and I was just there and it was just this like essence moment of like, finally we're away from everything. And this is what happened. I want to say what I always say, like, what is really going on? But this night, like I said, for 2 weeks, the first thing said was like, what's going on with that? That was some great energy. She was telling me, I was so proud of you, Joe. Of how relaxed you stayed for me, for my sake, because I really, really wanted the sister to get like I only have my story, but I wanted to her to get like the clearest version, the clearest, most precise way I could express it. That's what I'm looking for. I was hoping, because some days I just aren't, right? Some days just aren't, right? The astrology or whatever, right? Mercury retrograde. Venus retrograde. And first of all, when I seen her, like the first for fucking 14 years, she would dress like just a normal girl who came from like working out or dancing. I mean, in the beginning, she really would dress up and fuck with me and wear like new wavy makeup all over her face, which I really liked. I really loved it. It was so pretty. But after, 13 years of doing this together, she would just come in a t-shirt and workout pants, or a little dress. And like she said, I'm just in the park meditating, and this is actually what I'm wearing. She's like, I'm too lazy to imagine some other clothes. She's like, let's just be real, let's just be natural. It don't matter, right? I become completely accustomed to that. And then on May 5th, she had her whole hair in two, like, corn row braids all the way down her back. And I was just so captivated by that because after 13 years of her hair just being like in a ponytail, or maybe like, yeah, she'd have different ways, but never like this, never so fancy. And she was in like a really fancy white dress with gold grill signs on it. She looked like she was like going to like a wedding or something. This was on May 5th, right? So this was like, I guess, late August or early September. And, we had gone back to our regular, it was just that night because, of course, that was the night I found out I did pass these initiations and was going home. So she was dressed up. She dressed up for the occasion. Also because Adolf Hitler would be there. And her magic husband, remember that. Remember the context of a pre-arranged marriage. It has, has everything to do with vibration, but it also doesn't have anything to do with practical life, like she said. Doesn't mean she doesn't love Hitler with all her heart. All her heart. She's one. Like she said, I don't have to worry about love, true love, and I'm one with them. He's one with me, like I'm one with you. Because what? You're me, and I'm you. That's what Maria would say. So, that was May 5th. She was really fucking dressed up. She had like a jacket over the fucking dress that I was marveling at. I was like, wow, that's fancy for you, lady. And just to mention, Lou was on a giant throne, dressed exactly like you would see a high school kid in a Robin Hood play. Green tights, like a leather animal skin. It was cooler than that, because it was real animal skins and shit. He actually had like arrows next to his throne, like a little quiver of arrows and shit. And he was kind of letting me know, like, I am the Sagittarius. She's the Scorpio. I am the giant horse man with a bow and arrow. And for real, he was saying to me, like, believe it. On May 5th, he was saying some crazy shit to me. That he was Obi-Wan Kenobi, Robin Hood, in the same way that he is Yahweh. Do you hear me? Oh, the Bible. Yeah, the Bible proves exactly what I'm saying. The Bible absolutely proves that Yahweh is Obi-Wan Kenobi, who is Robin Hood, who is Luke Skywalker, who is Anakin Skywalker. Because why? What do they all have? Some of them might say, some of them are good, some of them are evil. They're all characters in a fictional book. That's what they have in common. They all have the same author as their source. I like how people say source, and I say to them, I know, give me your source. Well, I'm talking about source, okay? What is that? I don't know. Then why do you talk about it like you do know? I want to know. And I'm not talking to anyone personally in particular. I've been hearing this since the middle 90s. The creator, source, the universe told me, its source told me. It's just another way of saying God. Something you made up in your fucking head because you lack real supernatural experiences. You can't meditate your way to a supernatural experience. You can't meditate in coercion of the gods. They won't be coerced. You cannot earn a experience with the real gods of this matrix by any act of, fasting, praying, meditating. None of that will do anything to, like, the moment you think that it does is when they say, she's got a long way to go, or he's got a long way to go. A long way to go, because it just means you clearly are where I was, and I can say this by experience. That's where I was before I started doing this ritual. You know where I was? I don't know for sure what is going, who's talking to me with these. Like, I would take walks in the woods and meditate and communicate with something. You know what it was? I don't know, because it was contradictory. You know what I know now? I was under black magic attack. The same people who harmed the girl in the Rastafarian church, Kristen, same people that were harming my friend Matt. And people are like, well, that's crazy. Well, you're an asshole that don't believe the victims. You're like, well, until I know someone, we're not talking to you. Like I said, I talked to her in the comments, and I talked to the girl that calls herself Soul Sistership. And like, I think she was saying, like, she agreed with me. Like, people don't care. It don't matter. You know, it's totally refining though, and purifying. Like, it purifies your art. To know only a few people really care, really want to understand, like, really, like, with lyrics and poetry, you're trying to use imagery to speak to someone. And when someone's like, hey, I like that line or that word, and on another level, they're saying to you, like, I get that emotion. I felt that. That's the greatest compliment. That's like what keeps you going as a artist. You know what I mean? It's like it just keeps coming back to me, like the light in the wilderness for someone, for anyone to come upon. And but back to the ritual, back to the interview, back to the sister. This ritual, like I said, I had no idea what was going to happen. I never do know really what's going on in reality. That's why I need Maria. That's why I need a teacher, because I'm concentrating on trying to make good art. Trying to be worth something to people around me. You can't be all things to all men. You have to be, a specialist of some things at some time. And for me, I want the highest thing, like creating something is a high achievement to me, even if no one likes it. But anyway, like I said, I drank my mushrooms. I was with Maria. This was like, I really believe, the third week after the third time I was going to have to tell her, like, I've never really heard from her. I don't think she cares. I don't think she likes, by 3 weeks, I was totally in the reality of, like, oh, it's just us that thinks that was great. I mean, that's why I told her the second week, like, Maria, I guess I am facing that sort of harsh reality of, like, I guess she didn't like it. And so this was the third week. And like I said, it was like a serious tone all of a sudden. And I think we had just moved out of Leo into Virgo. And, it was like she kind of mentioned, like, I'm the real fucking virgin. not these fucking fake bitches. And I was like, oh my God, you are so beautiful. This time, her hair was all done up on top of her head. All of it. And it was like sort of like wound around like a turban, but going up and like, and I said, man, you look like Parvati, Shakti. You are. And she was like, I am Lucifer's wife by secret marriage. I'm one with him and Donna. And that's what I was going to get to. That Donna is the queen of Atlantis, the real queen of the world, this reality, the real original first wife of Shiva, Allah Luja. And Maria came dressed so beautiful, and again, a white dress, and she very cleverly showed me how it zipped up and back. And check this out. She was holding, but before I even noticed, I may have noticed, but the look on her face shocked me. And it was like we're like 10 feet away from each other, walking to each other, and like when I seen what her face looked like, I instinctively said, because I had never ever seen her mad before, ever. I've seen her cry, I've seen her be sad, but I've never seen her angry. And like our eyes met, and I said, "Are you pissed?" I said, "Oh my God." I half jokingly said, "Not at me, right?" She said she like changed her face and kind of smiled a little, and she said, "I'm not pissed. I'm just militant." And I was like, damn, that was the last word on this whole thing. And she told me, Joe, it takes many rounds. You should know this. And she said to me that night, you remember that field? How many crosses were in that field? And I went, man, fucking way too many. I later came to find out there was 999 crosses in there. I feel ashamed to say that. For real, I lived this life 1,000. It took 1,000 times. It's like a contract you make. If I'm there 1,000 times, and take me out. And that's exactly, I didn't know at the time, but that's exactly what my true self said to me in the beginning when I didn't even know the context. Like, so, buddy, it's not that you did anything. It's just the time is up. You're getting out of here because I'm here. The true self is here. I'm the one that made the contract that's holding you here. And that's exactly what I was told in the very beginning by Maria. There's no risk, Joe. Your soul can't get trapped there. There's no soul trapping, soul recycling. It's just your life repeating in your own mind. That's all it is. You can put it in fancy words, but it's not fancy. It's actually dull and deflating. It takes the life out of you, right? But it also has made me inspire. Like, I know, man, dude, this is it. This is it for me. I won't be here next round, niggas. What next round? The round that's going to happen in your mind until you realize you're God over you. And you've been God over you the whole time, and your only mistake, it's not a sin, but your only mistake is thinking you're a little bit God over anyone else. That would be called manipulation. And essentially, a lot of relationships in the Matrix are based on success. So it's a agreed upon manipulation. Like I'll let you manipulate me into a sort of fake thing. Sort of. I know I can't truly be fake, but I'll let you think. That's called manipulation. And I'll do the same because, two incomes are a lot better than one. That's the bottom line in especially American culture. There's no initiation, that the young man goes in. Like the becoming a man or a woman initiation should be a total, complete teaching about you existed before you came here. Your true love, your eternal true love has already happened. Everything has already happened. You can't find this person. This person's revealed by your true self to you. It's a complete different category. That's why they try to say like a loveless love. It's like an eternal loveless love. Eternal true love. And like why? Because when there's no memory and no emotion, it's still not dead. And that's what's meant by Odin hanging on the cross for the knowledge of the runes. Is knowledge of the runes, my ancestors, can you teach me how to never lose this woman that I love? And they were like, no, you never will. Because you were willing to sacrifice yourself. Why? For the sins of the world? No, for her. Yeah, Maria used to say it to me. I hate the Bible and I hate the Jesus story because I'm Mary and my husband, the true Jesus, died on the cross for me, his eternal true love, not for anybody else. Not for disgusting pedophiles. Just imagine that. Jesus would forgive a pedophile and let him into heaven. How could that be heaven, nigga? Huh? How could that be heaven when sex offenders are living next door to you? The main one, your own God. Yeah, you hear that? Look, read your Bible. Why did none of those... You tell me 12 dudes in their 20s that don't have girlfriends and don't talk about girls, don't even acknowledge that they exist. You don't get something going on here? You don't understand that? You don't see something's up? Surely. This is the real world. Why were those police there to arrest Jesus? Huh? I mean, he was just hanging out for years with 12 young dudes, and he's 30 and they're like 15. Kind of sounds like something. Steen. Jeff Steen. Right? Doesn't sound like that. Like grooming. And you have these like strange verses of like, John was the one that laid on his chest, the one that he loved. I mean, when's the last time your friend, it was like, hey dude, can we lay down? I lay on your chest. This is your Bible. This is Aleister Crowley's goddamn joke on you. That your good old boy God is actually a homosexual. At least your Bible is sick, man. I mean, it's such black magic that a good person like me, I'm talking from experience, I'm not above you. I was the dumbest, stupidest Christian ever. And how the hell you can skip over verses where Jesus like, let me tell a story. There was a slave and a slave master. He tells a story and he's like, yeah, the meaning of this story is that the slave should stay in his place, stay a slave and obey the slave master. And they're like, huh, we don't get it. And he's like, I'm the slave master, you're the slave. And then Paul, a few books later, he starts it out, I'm Paul, the apostle, slave of Jesus Christ. Like Maria said, it's all in the language. It's all in the words. Who would choose that word? Who would choose those kinds of words? I'm the prisoner of Jesus Christ. If I was your God, I'd say, hey, motherfucker, quit saying you're my prisoner. You're my goddamn prisoner. You're free to leave, buddy. Get the fuck out of here, nigga. You're my prisoner. The slave of Jesus Christ. Motherfucker, I don't have slaves. Get out of here. Instead, you're like, oh my God, that's humble. If you believe God became a man, you're an idiot. Because what God are you talking about? The universe, the source, the great creator, the great spirit in the sky. In it. So, how would you describe that? It's beyond description. And that became a man. What was beyond description became a regular man. It was pissing and shitting and eating, and he never got in a bad mood. But then he's not a regular man. You can't have it both ways, nigga. Was he a regular man or was he not a regular man? Right? Did he want to fuck girls, or was he fucking an alien, or was he a weirdo from, are you gonna branch off into science fiction or what? Or was he a regular man? Did he wake up with a hard on because he hadn't got any for weeks, or hasn't masturbated? It's like, is this real? No, of course not. I'm yelling. I am literally seeing myself. So if people are wondering why you get so mad and you're yelling at Christians and you bring this such angry energy at Christians, I'm seeing myself and I'm so mad that I would believe something so irrational and stupid and put all my energy into it. And like Maria said, like, this is my story. I understand people like, that's too much for me. I can't listen to you. I get it, dude. I don't blame you, really. I told someone recently, like, I don't blame you if you thought I was crazy. I'm just asking you, don't form an opinion until you gather all the data. And like my friend said, well, anyone that knew you would know that you were talking about the Missouri River Goddess for a whole year before you ever mentioned that you remembered the UFO in your backyard and that she said she was the lady on that. Like you said, anyone that actually knew you, he's like, I've seen you once a week or so, that whole year. And like the drummer, I was playing in a band at the time. The drummer, he lived a few streets down from me. I'd buy earphones. And Sunday mornings, I would go over there almost every Sunday morning. And we got in a habit. He would be like, tell me what the Missouri River Goddess is telling me. He's like, I really think it's interesting. So every Sunday I would tell him about the ritual before, and actually he moved away before I knew she was Maria. So as far as he knew, he was like a weird guitar player in the band, thinks he communicates with a goddess of the Missouri River, but she does say some interesting things. And I can hear Maria saying, like, part of the practical lack of data, and neither me nor her like to do this, but you have to gather data on your enemy. You have to trace and track and defeat your enemy. If you don't, have enemies in this world, you're not on our side, and there'll be a real track record. Like, I've talked to, a few people from this podcast who listen to this podcast, and, they, each one of them had like a near-death experience or some kind of tragic murders or supernatural experiences with things that can hardly be described. Like, was that human? What the fuck was that? And you know the answer. Everything's energy. And your imagination can create anything. Anything that exists can be created with the imagination of the true self. So if you see alien monsters and shit, and you think you're taking on a crap by gray, green, that very well can be magic being done on you, and you're just made to see that, or they have literally, on this other frequency, morphed their self into this image to scare you, mainly. I would definitely, when I didn't know anything and I accidentally, drank 6-7 grams of mushrooms, I definitely was seeing like these insectoid reptilian, not reptilian, even alien, like these sort of more, not reptiles, actually, more like an insect alien looking beings, and they weren't nice. I was terribly, they were actually actual evil manifest. And they weren't being allowed in the house. They were at the windows and shit. I'm not kidding. At times they looked like skeletons with insect heads that were like alien heads, but they had like instead of just being a drawn alien, because they're not real, it was like a real face, and it was more like, it was like a big black eyes, like of a, it just registered in my mind like an insect, right? And, you know what I mean? So, I see my cat, the way I was taught this is I see my cat, who was given to me by Maria. I drank my tea, flew off with Maria, and she was like, "Check this out! Look at what our cat is doing." And I seen her just standing there, with her paws down, sitting, and sitting with her head up, and her paws up, not laying down, but sitting with her paws standing, and her back, butt sitting down, with her eyes closed, just in perfect stillness, like she would do on the kitchen table. Just an absolute meditation, stillness. And she was, she only weighed 5 pounds. She was a little tiny thing. In my experience on another plane of existence with her, she was standing in front of this like 20-foot demonic looking monster, reptile, insect, alien looking crazy fucking thing that's, of course, scared me when I first looked at it, because I thought, oh my god, it's gonna kill. I remember Maria saying to me, "You know what that monster was? Cancer." You know what that monster was, Joe? Black magic of cancer. I was like, wow, man, that's fucking nuts. But I seen her, and Maria was like, "Yeah, you get what's going on?" I said, "No." I said, Maria said, "She's protecting you from that monster." And she said that monster is a particular person who's quite well versed at magic, and he really hates you, and he wants to destroy you. She said, but I'm here to protect you because you know why he hates you? Me. He hates you because of me. And she said to me, a lot of people hate you because of me, but that's also your job. Yeah. That it's my job, it's my occupation to, like, represent her when she wants me to. And also to speak for her. But sometimes she said, I'll bring you to the school and I will talk for 5 minutes. And, this is what we do. Like, I kind of feel like I'm connecting to her right now, but somebody asked me, can you describe, you say you work for Maria Orsic. Okay, this is exactly what she told me. She said, you know why I was able to give you particularly so many dreams? This was probably like eight rituals into it, and this is 10 months before I knew she was Maria. The Missouri River goddess, whom I would call her magic name, was saying to me, you know why I could give you so many dreams? Because just week after week she is telling me, Joe, your true self did not make that dream. I did. And I, like you would say in a computer, I downloaded it into your mind. And then when you were sleeping, I actually was the one suggesting to you that you were going to see this. And she said it's basically the same thing as remembering, but you're creating the memory. This is called magic. I was like, I get it. She's like, you do this. I go, I know. You're right. You are really ringing a bell with me that this is what we do. We like to create a different reality for the eternal return. We're fighting eternal return. We're fighting repetition with magic, essentially. Right? And, well, we'll just leave that and go back to what I was talking about. The interview, 3 weeks, and this ended up being like Maria said, I'll just tell you my experience. So I think I'm a very optimistic person, even when I'm sort of given hints like this might not, turn out in a worldly success. The very few of these super spiritual things are able to be manifested by people. Like she was trying to tell me, this takes many rounds. It took many rounds for you. Like she was actually kind of telling me all the things I shown. Don't expect people to just manifest them. They can't. They're in a war for their fucking sanity. And just help. Just try to help. And try not to take anything personal. And so I was doing all that, right? And I was trying to really forget about the interview thing. Although I was like, it's just so symbolic of like, it's like, when you're a guitar player and you play the best track you've ever played and you're like, damn, I didn't even hit record. I should have hit record. I should have had them hit record. And then you never quite do it as well. You do it well, it's in time, but it's not quite as magic as the time that you practiced instead of hit record. Because you might practice a couple of times before you hit record. And it's almost like an intuition, It's like, damn, shit, what the... It's the same thing. It's like, I may never do anything better as far as Maria's spokesman than that. But I don't even remember, because a lot of it was switching bodies with Maria. And like I said, back to it. I drank my mushrooms. I seen her, and then we're in another world. She's all dressed up in this white, tight white dress, and with her hair all like on top of her head, every last bit of it. Maybe a little bit going around her ears, a little or something. It seemed like a little bit was falling out of it, maybe. But anyway, I was so flipped out that she looked mad. It was just like stop the world. And I didn't notice she was holding another woman's hand that was walking behind her. And like when she said, like, I'm not mad, I'm just militant. And I was like, it like shook my world. I was like, yeah, you're militant, but what does that mean in this, whole respect? And all of a sudden I realized I was looking at, I swear, I said to Maria, by total instinct, she was walking behind Maria. Maria was holding her hand, and she like walked on the side of Maria, in front of me. And my first thought was, you have the most beautiful face of anyone in this world like Maria. It reminds me of Maria, something. And she is just totally black hair, or really dark brown hair, dark brown eyes. And I just went, Cindy. And she went, I can't believe everything that's happened, Joe. And this was my first girlfriend, whom I talk about in some of these podcasts, whom I really loved and thought was so beautiful. And I really loved her mother so much. She was the sweetest, kindest person ever. She died in like 2020 because of the stupid COVID, cancer, all of it. And I felt so bad, but at the same time I felt like she was feeling bad. I felt a connection to her even before this, even though I hadn't talked to her in 25 years or seen her or anything, nor her daughter really. I talked to her daughter like maybe 3 times in 20 years. And it was her. Her name is Cindy. And I was just like, there was like literal minutes of silence where it was like awkward silence. And I was like, I can't speak because your face is that beautiful. And it was like me and her were like going back in time, just me standing in front of her. Like caused us to go into like another world, and I was like, literally, as a 17, 18, 19-year-old kid, I literally thought that Tammy was the most beautiful woman and you were the second most beautiful woman. And she was like, oh, that's so sweet. And I was like, but I mean it literally, like, so much so that I don't even remember movie stars from that time. And I was totally like, on Venus, you're 30 years old, but you look more like 20 in our time. Like, you look perfect, your skin. And I kept saying to her, I'm sorry to just stare at you and look at every little part of you. I said, but it's only because I think you're so, so incredibly beautiful. Because I was looking at her nose, her lips, her cheekbone, like, it was crazy. It's like I don't like art, paintings and shit like other people do. I've been to the museums around the country. Not all of them, but some. And seen, I'm impressed. But I see in other people's faces who are painters and shit, who are just like, wow. It's like hitting them on another level. Her face was like that to me. Her face, and I went, sin, thee. And she went, Maria said, moon, goddess of thee. And I went, for real. For real, I started like getting very emotional. Like, for real, Cindy, you are like a goddess. You're so beautiful. And she's like, yeah, I know, but I don't do anything for that. I'm like, I'm not saying not your personality. I was like, you don't, like, you are the sweetest, nicest person I ever met. When she died, I wrote to my ex-girlfriend, a million years ago. I said to her, your mother was, I felt as a teenager that your mother was one of the only people in this whole world that was like on my side and believed in me. I said she believed in me far more than anyone in my family, including my own mother. And I was thinking this in front of Cindy on another planet of existence with Maria Orsic, and she said to me, you know why, Joe? I'm not dumb. She said, everyone might think us a little European. Her family's from Albania, and Maria was telling me how she loves Albania and how warm it is there, and she loves it there. And she was saying to me, like, this is an Albanian goddess, And she said to me, I liked you before I met you. You know why? Because my mom didn't like you. The first thing my mom had to say about you was something bad. Just like me. She never had anything good to say about me, Jeff. She only could criticize me. Ever. I don't ever remember her really. She said she would do it and say, I love you and stuff. She said, but it was never authentic. It was always with, but you're not who I want you to be. You're not the daughter I want you to be. You're a bad girl. You're bad. You're sin, D. Which means moon goddess. Like that's bad. And she said to me, because my mother, the more she didn't like you, and she had no reason not to like me. I didn't know the lady at all. She just thought that in 1984, 1985, she just thought anyone that didn't look like a good church boy was bad, So all punk rock was bad. Which I was by the time I was 19. I didn't look punk rock anymore. And on another plane of existence, I was like, wow, that so makes sense that you had like this practical reason. I was like, that so makes sense. I said, the first time I met you, I was telling Cindy this. The first time I met you, when we were leaving, I could, and she said to me, you communicated with me telepathically. I relived that. And you said to me, I love you for being Tammy's mother. Like, she was like, you were thankful to me, and I knew that. It made me, she's like, that's why I'm here tonight. She said, you know why I'm here tonight? Because of you, Jeff. This woman came to me after I died because of you. She made it clear that her connection to me was you. And Maria, she came over and whispered in my ear. She was like, this just might be the greatest night of your life. I laughed. I go, what? And she smiled. I've never, like, since 5/5, since May 5th, I was 14 years, or 13 years with Maria before this. Never did everything explode into a whole nother level. And I looked at her and said, "What? I don't understand what you're saying." And she, like me and Cindy were like talking, this like having this conversation of like, and I was telling her one time, like me and her daughter and her husband went on, like her husband had like a boat on the Missouri River. I am not kidding. I was like, oh my God, Maria, I can't believe this. I mean, as a kid, after being a kid, as a like grown man, it had to be the only time I ever went out on a boat on the Missouri River, just sightseeing, with Tammy's mom. And I started reliving this. And like the whole river was like sending me into a meditation. And me and Tammy would talk about, we would talk, on a regular basis. Like, it was a regular conversation about how beautiful her mother was. It was just a fact. Like, no, I don't believe anyone could be around her and be like, man, that lady has the prettiest face. I can't, she really looks like a brunette Maria. She had the same nose and mouth and eyes. I would just, very similar, but just dark brown instead of blondish. Blonde, Goldilocks. And I just wanted to tell Cindy. I was just like, you don't even get it. Like, I want the truth to be known. Like, to me, you were like a living movie star. It was like being on a boat with a movie star. I said, I was nervous. Like, you came and sat by me. I was nervous. I was like, I've never sat by a beautiful woman. She's like, that was the last thought in my mind. I would have never thought that you thought I was so beautiful. And she was like, and I would have never thought Tammy thought I was so beautiful. I'm serious though. Like, I remember, I guess we were on the boat for like a couple hours. And when we were driving home, the first thing Tammy said to me is, my mother is so physically beautiful. I said, I know, she's just the prettiest, most beautiful soul. Like, we were just marveling, like her, not just her face and her body, but her soul. We were, for real, you'd get around her, you would marvel, but it's weird, like, I don't know, I felt like I wanted to be around her more, but my girlfriend lived with her grandmother, So but anyway, back to the vision. So I'm sharing this with Cindy in 2024, September of 2024. And I all of a sudden I went, oh my God, you guys are wearing the same dresses, her and Maria. And Maria was like, I bought it for her. We're twins tonight. She's my gem in my eye. And I went, what? And she said, she said to Cindy, hey, listen, Joe, when you were born, where was the sun? Where was Venus in the sky when you were born? I said, Jim and I. And Maria, she walked over to me. She said, you're the gem in my eye. And she turned around and she said, watch, you're like this. And she turned around to Cindy and she said, and also, Joe, she's the gem in our eye. And kissed her on the lips. And for a long time. And I just seen them embrace, like, the kiss, like something beyond normal sexuality. Some kind of, like, expression of love physically that I was like, wow, that's beyond words. Like, And with Maria, with her mind, she's like, just relax and watch me initiate Cindy into the level of the eternal orgasm, right? And she's like, I swear, Maria said to me, she said, you know why we're wearing the matching dresses like that? This? I said, no. I said, it's so cute because you're both the exact same size. Cindy, I think, is actually 5'1". It's a little bit smaller than Maria, even maybe 1 inch shorter. But almost exactly the same size. And she said to me, in a kind of joking way, because she was showing me, like, I'm not really mad. I'm just militant. That's what she was showing me. I'm just militant. She said to me, thank you, Joseph. You found Tammy, which we found Cindy. We didn't know these people. She said, back on Venus, they're not from our caste, but they can be initiated into my group because I say so. I say who is. She said, I want you to relax and watch me initiate Cindy into the space so she can live there for a few years at least, the real vacation, into the space of the eternal orgasm. This is why she was kissing her and massaging her, and like, I was beyond words speechless. And she was like, yeah, we're wearing the matching dresses so that we can take them off of each other and really, show you what she said. I know, you're my spokesman, and you don't even remember, you would never be able to remember what a real Venusian initiation for a real girl. She's like, and believe it, Joe, you're one of the only men in my life who I've ever, wanted just to watch this. But this is how we do it. And she was taking off like Cindy's dress, and like massaging her, kissing her all over. I was like, I had never seen Maria do anything sexual except for the few things in revealing how the notebook for the UFO came about. Other than that, Mindy knows, none of this had anything to do with sex, really. It was all information, right? But she was showing me, this is, and she told me, she died in 2020. And it's taken this long. Like she said, it's taken 5 years to prepare, teach her, have her relax, have her release all the trauma. And she's like, she's ready to release. She's like, feel free, Joseph. Enjoy, the sight. As she like kissed her and like moved down her body to like her breast. And she was like, these are the prettiest breasts ever, aren't they? And like in the moment, I absolutely know what you mean. That Cindy is just absolutely a precious individual. And she's like, what, Joe? I said, she symbolizes all like regular, unknown, nameless, voiceless, beautiful women that have been, and she said, what? I said, ruined by black magic of the atmosphere of the culture. The culture did this to this beautiful person, the culture, her mother, bringing the commercialized culture, like, you're not good, you don't have a job, you don't have a, you're not who we, Maria said, say it, Joe. I said, she's not who Virginia, that was her grandmother, her mother. I said, she just wasn't who she wanted her to be. And she said, who is she? And I said, she is, wow, exactly who we want her to be. And she said, "What is that?" I said, "A fucking goddess. She is so beautiful." And Maria was like holding out, and she was like completely naked by then. But Maria had her dress on. And she was like massaging her legs, and like holding her leg up to me and saying, like, "Look at these dancer legs." Like, and I was like yours, they were just absolutely, absolutely beautiful. And this is how you're initiated into this beautiful vibration. And she like moved to her feet, and I instantly, me and Maria's mind connected. I said, "Those are Tammy's feet. Those look exactly like Tammy's feet." And Maria was like, "You like Tammy's feet, don't you?" And and she was massaging them in every way you could imagine possible, including using Cindy's feet, to massage herself. And I remember saying to her, like, "Damn, Maria, there is some heavy duty, powerful energy being generated right now." And she's like, I agree totally." She said, "What's doing it?" I said, "Cynthi's feet." And she was massaging her feet, and she was like, "No, seriously, Joe." She was like, "I could never claim that there's any feet cuter than these." And in a way, like, also it kept going back sort of to Tammy of like, Cindy and Tammy are one, and it would come into my mind. And Maria was doing it on purpose. Maria, she told me later, she was like, "Joe, I'm trying to prove to you, I love you, I know you this well." But telepathically, while Maria was doing her magic with Cindy, she said to me exact word for word things that Tammy would say about Cindy. Like, my mom is so beautiful. Like I was hearing Tammy's voice, and it was like Maria was saying, I was saying that, not through her, with her. I go, "What? I don't understand what you mean." She said, "Remember how I told you Mindy and Genesis are one? So are Cindy and Tammy. Like, they're best friends." Like, she said to me, like, "You keep thinking of Tammy because Cindy and Tammy are one. They're not mother, daughter on Venus. On Venus, they're best friends. Best friends in a way that they share everything, Joe. Nothing. There's no secrets, absolute transparency, truth." She's like, "It's vibration. That's why Tammy." I swear on my life, I never heard Tammy say not one bad thing about her mother. Ever. Ever. Never. Never. Not a single negative thing. Ever. And like Maria said, this might be the greatest night of your life. I've never seen anything more beautiful. I would just say, without being, I'm not trying to make this erotic. It is, but I'm not trying. It's not the point. But let me just say, this is no fucking lie. I don't want to miss the whole point, and like Hitler told me, "Tell it all, Joseph. You're my Joseph. Feed the hungry. When the grain is ran out, you got the food. Feed them. Tell them off." And check this out. Maria was like, just like the most respectable way I could say it is like Maria was like going down on her, and all three of our minds were connecting. And Maria was like, I want you totally, Joseph, to be in me as we receive this energy from her. Like, she's been trained 5 years on how to direct this energy to make me, you, and Cindy one. And I was like, what? I had never seen Maria do anything like this, or experience anything like this, ever, in the 14 years of, 600 rituals we did together. And never, ever, nothing, never even close. And it was like I was just one with them. Not that I was feeling so much the pleasure that Cindy was feeling, but that we were hooked in together of like causing the pleasure, and then knowing that we were going to feel the effect of Cindy's blood. I was like, oh my God, I get this. This is real scientific energy. Leaving her, going to us, and Maria said it's eternal. This is what we call eternal friendship. To be willing to unite is one. She was like, are you ready to swear a vow to Cindy? I was like, sure. And she's like, you swear to have her back forever? I was like, I would be honored. Absolutely honored. This is while Maria was having oral sex with her. And that we were communicating back and forth, and Maria was saying, now's the time to make a vow. To swear on her fucking heart. Because you know what? It might not mean anything to anyone else. But she's like, I know it means something to me and you, and we're for real. This is a real initiation. She's like, I've waited. She's like, and they both were saying to me, thank you, Joe. You're the one that did that. You're the link between us. You're the one that put Tammy. And for real, Maria was like, just relax, Joe. Relax with Cindy. And I was like, oh my God, she's going to have an orgasm from Maria Orsic. And for real, like Maria said, like the Wizard of Oz, it was like I was picked up off the ground and we were just all like swept away in a millisecond by this like white light. And we were just floating in like paradise, like a beautiful blue waterfall into like a beautiful blue swimming, natural lagoon swimming pool. And like I said to Maria, oh my God, I can't believe this. And I go, look at the butterflies. There's fucking butterflies in this place. And she said to me, Joseph, where are we? And like I was holding Cindy's hand like a kid. And like we just like floated over to Maria, and we were all three holding hands. And Maria said, Joe, tell Cindy where we're at. I said, sister, we are in a world called the eternal orgasm. Like, have you ever heard of that? She was like, no, I've never heard of that until I met this lady. She's like, until I met this lady, this Maria, this Missouri River goddess. And for real, I said to Maria, we're fairies. She's like, yeah, because we're the sons and daughters of Lou. She's like, Lou makes all this possible. This wouldn't be possible without Lou. And for real, I mean, how many times we have stopped and just been like, Lou, we love you, brother. Like, how does this, this is the capabilities of your mind. You've been totally lied to, totally deceived, totally led astray. It's the art of war. Your enemies study the art of war against you. This has been taken from you, that life is just work and fucking suffering and pain, And yeah, I'm in a war for my life, but these real experiences on the frequency is actually more real than this frequency, like Miguel Serrano says. The frequency that is dreamed by the greatest of dreamers, which is your own true self, right? A dream more real than any other reality, because you're meeting with the people that you actually choose to be with, to vibrate with. And I said to Maria the last ritual, I go, Maria, I go, what the fuck happened? The last thing I remember, we were in paradise. I said, I've never done this in a ritual. We were in that space and we were flying around like fairies with Cindy. And all I could say to her is, you are the most fucking beautiful woman. Like every time I come around her, I said, I'm sorry, I keep repeating myself. She was like, no, it makes me happy every time you say it. She said, because I know you don't mean it in a shallow way, that I just kept saying to her, like, man, dude, I'm so happy just to be around you. Like, all I wanted, Cindy, was to be around you. Like, I never got enough time to be around you. I said, that's why me and Tammy would talk about you, because I would say, like, we need to be around your mom. Like, and Tammy would agree with me. So check it out. I didn't realize the microphone wasn't on, so we'll still have this recording in its own special way, but we just want to end with a word of healing for everyone. May our experiences, may we share these. May I wish and ask Maria and Lou, for those who are really trying, our people, may the doors be opened for you, Stand at the door and knock. It will be opened. But don't give up. Don't ever give up. And we just speak healing over you right now. We speak the blue light protection of Lucifer around your mind, and that you will be able to discern and, have a special energy from us to help you. Like, we want to help you. We aren't condemning anyone. We're not against any regular people. The people clearly we're against are child abusers, horrible fucking monsters. And we're fighting this war with you. And hopefully, this is just Joe speaking. I hope that, we together, like, people are taking me serious and listening, and we can, like, transcend, the moment, the life, this matrix, the simulation, the hologram, together. That we, I am learning to this very day. Every day I'm learning. And I'm watching, the power from the green thunderbolt create and destroy for a purpose, for a destiny. And I'm trying the best I can for me and you and everyone else. I for people in Palestine, for people under the gun of the Ronald McDonald death cult, we rebuke you.
There's a whisper in the shadows, a heartbeat in the night, a call for all the dreamers to stand and make it right. We're living in a world that's crying out in pain, but together we can heal it like sunshine after rain. Just look inside your heart, let it show you where to start. So let's change the world, make it shine. The love so pure, so divine. One step at a time, hand in hand. We'll turn around, make a stand. stars in the eyes, dreaming of tomorrow, reaching for the skies. They don't see the lines, don't know black and white. They only see the colors, a world that's full of light. It's in the way we give, the way we care. So let's change the world, make it shine. The love so pure, so divine.